Hey everyone, welcome to the first drawing. I'm going to go over how to do drawing one, how to get it set up, how to draw the object, and then how to actually finish the drawing and get it turned in. So to start, what I did was I took my sheet of paper, I matched it up with my T-square being against the edge of the desk, and then I lined up one of the printed lines on the paper with my T-square. I then put a little bit of tape in each corner, smoothing it out as I taped it down. The next step is going to be to find the center of the page so that we can center that square on the page. We want our view perfectly centered on our drawing sheet. So what I'm going to do is use my engineer scale, and we want it centered in this area right here, not from here to here. We want it centered just in this area. So I'm going to start by measuring this line right here, which is the top of our title block. So this is our title block that has all the information about the drawing. I'm going to set my engineer scale, and notice I'm on the side that says engineer. So this is the side that goes from 0 to 12 inches, and each inch is 1/10 of an inch, or 0.1 inches. So I'm just going to measure this, and notice it goes all the way to 10 and then 0.1. So that bottom line is 10.1 inches long, and I want to find the midpoint of it. So half of 10.1 is going to be 5.05. So I can't measure 0.5. It's going to be kind of somewhere in here. So I'm just going to make a mark halfway. That would give me about 10.05. So now I'm going to draw a vertical line with my triangle. So I'm going to set my T-square on my desk, and then my triangle on my T-square like this. And then I'm going to set my triangle right at that point. Hold it down. You kind of have to hold both down at the same time. And I'm going to lightly draw a vertical line. And this first line that I draw is with my 0.5 millimeter lead. So it's nice and light. Be a little too light to see, but I like to draw these light because I don't want to draw a line that's too dark to where I can't erase it if I make a mistake, because you'll make a lot of mistakes. The key is to catch them early on. So now I'm going to measure this vertical line, and notice it is all the way down to, and I'm going to set my 0 right here on this top edge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.9. Okay. And I want to do the same thing. I want to find the midpoint. So if I take 6.9, divide that by 2, I get 3.45. So 3.45, so another kind of weird measurement. So I'm going to mark 3.45. So I'm going to go to 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, and then just halfway. I'm going to put a little mark, and now I can draw my horizontal line. Just like that. So this is the midpoint of the vertical line, and so this should give us the center of the page. And if you want to check and see, you know, this is 3.45 from there to there. I could also check it right here. It's 3.45. You know, going this direction, 5.05, and going this direction, it's 5.05. So this point is the center of our page. Now what we want to do is we want to center the square. So this square, if we look at these measurements here, from the corner to the center is 2 inches, and from the corner to the center, from this bottom corner, is 3 inches. So if you add those two together, you're going to get 5 inches. And it's the same thing up top. So from the corner to the center is 2, and from the corner to the center is 3. So this object is 5 inches by 5 inches. Now we want to center it. We've got to find, you know, the midpoint of both of these lines. And so just take 5, you divide it by 2, and you get 2.5. So you could set your 0 point on your scale and measure over 2.5, and then flip it around and measure 2.5 the other way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to set 2.5 at that vertical line, okay? And then now I know my object is 5 inches wide, so I can mark it at 0, and then I can mark it at 5. And so I'm going 2.5 inches this direction, and then 2.5 inches this direction. So those two marks represent my width. I can then take my T-square and my triangle, and I can lightly draw two lines that are going to represent the width. So a line there and a line there. Okay, so now I'm going to do the exact same thing because it's got a 5-inch height. So I set my 2.5-inch mark on my horizontal line, and then I make a mark at 0 and a mark at 5. And now I can draw my two horizontal lines with, and I'm just going to use the T-square for this. There to there. Set my T-square at the mark, and draw from there to there. And now I have a 5-inch square centered on my page. Your next step, take your eraser shield and your fancy eraser, and you're going to clean this up. And we want to get rid of everything except the square. This works a lot better if you have a brush. I don't have a brush today, so I'm just going to use my hand. So I'm just going to go through, cover up the parts of my drawing I want to protect, expose. You can kind of see I'm protecting that part of the drawing, exposing the part I want to get rid of. It makes it really easy to erase it. So there's the outside. I'm also going to do the inside. If you get rid of part of your square here, that's not a big deal, because we still need to darken it up. So be careful not to catch the edge of your paper and tear it. Same thing here, and the same thing there. So it just makes it easier to see without all those extra lines. It makes it less confusing when you're starting out if you do it this way. So now I'm going to start with that top right square, or the circle for the square. If you notice, from the corner to the center is 2 inches, and then from the corner to the center is 2 inches. So I'm going to draw these two lines, and where they intersect, that'll give me my center point. So I just set my scale at that top corner, kind of tough to see. I set my 2-inch mark right at that corner, and then I can make a mark at 0. And then I can do the same thing going down. Set the 0 at the corner, make a mark at 2. Now I can draw my two lines that form my center mark. So horizontal line, excuse me, and then a vertical line. I'll draw some a little darker, a little easier to see. So now I've got my center point. If you have a compass, you can set your compass at that center point and then use the scale to find the radius. I don't have a compass. I've got my drawing template though. So with this, I've got a radius of 1 inch for the circle. That's what that R means, is a 1-inch radius. These are in diameter, so I'm going to find the 2-inch diameter circle, and then I'm going to match up these lines with my center mark. And then now I can draw my circle, just like that. So it's not too bad. For the bottom two, you're just going to repeat. They're both up 1 inch, and then this second component is 1 inch over, and then 2.5 inches. I'm going to draw those all at once. Make a mark at 0, or make a mark from 1 to 0. So I'm going to go up 1 inch from that corner. Draw a horizontal line going all the way across. And now I can go 1 inch and then 2.5 inches and draw my vertical lines. That. Like that. Now, my circles have a 2x r 0.50. That just means both these circles have a radius of 1/2 inch, which means they have a diameter of 1 inch. So I'm going to find my 1 inch circle, draw the first one, slide over, match up my lines, draw the second one. So there's the drawing. It's pretty much done. We just need, in terms of drawing it, we just need to darken it in, and then we need to add our measurements. So to darken it in and make it look pretty, we're going to start with our 0.7. Hopefully you can see that. We've got our 0.7. And what I'm going to do is use my triangle, and I'm going to set my triangle on the edges. I'm just going to hold it down right there. And then what I like to do is a down and back method. So I start here, I go down, and then come back. That. I get a nice dark line. These are visible lines, so you want them to be prominent on the page. So I'm going to do the same thing, go in this direction. I'll conveniently hit some holes in my chest down here. I'm using like some sort of blanket chest thing in the basement. I don't have a desk down here, so same thing going this direction. So yeah, you want to be careful you don't hit any holes and puncture your paper. So down and back, and then up here on the top line, down and back. You have to be careful though, if you are drawing on natural wood, your pencil is going to make marks in that. So if you have a really nice wood table, don't use it. That corner doesn't really match up. Kind of went over right there, but I can clean that up with my eraser shield. So now I'm going to do the same thing. Notice the contrast here. So my 0.5 versus my 0.7. I want these circles to also be 0.7. So I'll go back over them. When you get good at this and you've drawn a couple of them, go ahead and just draw your circles with the 0.7. Don't worry about doing a 0.5 and then a 0.7. Just draw them with the 0.7 if you're confident that they're in the right spot. There, you can see the difference between the two. Same thing up here. I'll draw the big one. There we go. And you want to be careful when you're drawing these lines. You can get some actual, I can't really see it a little bit there. So as your pencil runs along the edge of the triangle, you'll get lead dust on here and then also on the page. And if you're darkening a lot of lines, brush it off with your brush in between and it'll keep it from smearing around on your sheet. So it's a good little tip to keep it clean. So now I'm going to draw the dimensions next, and I'm going to use my 0.5 so that I get a little bit of contrast between my visible lines, my center marks, and my dimension lines. So what I'm going to do first is find the center for this circle. I'm just going to copy what's on that sheet. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw my center mark for the circle, and then I'm going to use that center line here of the center mark and then extend it into this extension line. I'll start by doing a short dash, and then I can go a long dash this direction, and then the same gap, long dash this direction, but I'm going to keep going to this line, and then I'm going to go past about 1/2 inch, like that. Okay? So now I can get rid of this light line underneath. Like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing from this corner, except instead of crossing it, I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap and then come out 1/2 inch, like that. So I've got my two extension lines. This will make it easier to see. There we go. So I've got my 2 extension lines. And now I just need to connect them with the dimension line. But I'm actually going to leave an opening in the middle for my value. And you don't want this centered. You want it slightly closer to the end of the extension line. I'm going to come down a little bit. And in the middle, I'm going to leave this opening so I can write my value. 2 inches. And then I can use my pencil and just freehand these arrows. Just like that. So I've got my gap and then no gap right here. So that's looking pretty good. And now I can do the same thing here. So I've got my first part of the center mark. I'll go past about the same distance. I might need to erase that a little bit. And then I'm going to go up here and go past to my line, cross it, and then go up 1/2 inch. Slide over to my corner, leave a gap, end it 1/2 inch if I can. And then now set my T-square and then leave this opening for my 2-inch value, 2.00. Freehand the arrows, just like that. So notice both of these dimensions or these values are oriented the same way. That's important for the engineering drawings. For the architectural drawings, we'll actually have them aligned with this line right here, which is called our dimension line, but not for this. These circles, it's going to be the exact same way to locate the centers, but I'll show you how to do the radius next. I like to use the 45 for the radius. So this angle for the leader, you want it kind of between 30 and 60 degrees. So 45 works great. So I add my 45-degree line, touching the circle. I then have my horizontal line, and now I can do the R 1.00 for my value. Should probably move that down just slightly, but you get the point. So I could clean that up, clean that up. So that's looking pretty good. These circles, same exact thing. If you want to pull one off and then do the 2x R 0.50, you can do that down here if you want. The thing I want to show you next though is how to finish the size of the object. So I'm going to add an extension line here with a gap. And then I'm going to come over, 1/2 inch and add this 3-inch dimension. And when I do that, I need you to line up the dimension lines. So this dimension line right here and the dimension line for this 3-inch, I want them to be the same, so that these arrows meet, just like that. That's if these dimensions are aligned. Okay, you can do this. If you want, you can nest the dimensions. So if I wanted to show that this length right here was 5 inches, I could do that. So I want a little bit of a gap. And then I'm going to go up like 1 inch, because each level will be about 1/2 inch. And then I can extend the extension line on this side. See that? So the extension line runs past. And now I can find my center, about like that. And then I could write my 5, just like that. So the longer value would go on the outside, and then the smaller value would go on the inside. So you can nest them like this if you want. We'll go over some rules and some guidelines to follow when actually placing dimensions, but this is a pretty good start. So go ahead and do the rest of it, and then when you're done, you can grab 0.5 or 0.7, and we can fill out our title block. So we're going to call this drawing 1. So using single stroke Gothic, all uppercase letters. Drawing 1. Write your name. Uppercase, date. Leave the approval blank, that's for me. Sheet, this is just one drawing. The 1 of 1, and then scale is 1 to 1. Just like that. Go ahead and add the rest of the measurements. Don't duplicate things. Like if you've got this 5-inch here, you don't need to put the 5-inch down here. You just don't need to over dimension your drawings. You want just enough for the object size to be clear. You know, make sure you go through and clean up any sort of extra little marks, you know, any weird little things on your page. Clean all that up. Fill out your title block and then peel the tape off before you turn that in as well. Thanks for watching. I'm going to do the next drawing, number 2, here in a second. So see you then.